In all the work that you've done, uh, we began by talking about the brand that you've created. Where does Deepak Chopra and the brand go from here? You've dabbled in a whole genre of spiritual healing work, well-being work. You've also extended the power of that brand into several things that we've seen in India. Some of the things haven't worked, and I want to come to that also and ask you why they haven't worked. But before that, I want to ask you, where do you go from here? As we stand on the threshold of another decade, what is your next step going to be?
Well, right now I'm in conversation with over 500 CEOs, and we're talking about conscious capitalism, which is more than just corporate social responsibility, but capitalism in redefined as healing the ecosystem and serving the needs of society and not having this casino mentality. That's one of the conversations I'm engaged in. I speak to corporate people. I gave the keynote at the Conscious Capitalism conference last year. In addition, I work with nonprofits to see how they can work with industry and with businesses together. I have a program to get 100 million people to volunteer in the world in various areas, community service. I also work with the United Nations, with Gallup. You know, I'm on the board of Gallup, and we do polls, but then we take the data and we see if we can use the data to bring about creative solutions to everything from disease to conflict. So we recently surveyed the equivalent, a sampling which was the equivalent of 600 million Muslims in 10 Islamic countries. And I can tell you confidently that we have the information and the data that would make for a meaningful dialogue and a creative solution to the problem of war and terrorism. I think everybody agrees, even President Obama knows that there is no military solution to terrorism, that this is a blot on our, it's a shame on our creativity that we cannot come up with economic and creative solutions, even to the India-Pakistan-Kashmir situation. There are solutions out there, but we have to get out of the old mindset. I'm in the autumn of my life, and I can say, as far as my personal success is concerned, I've been there, I've done that. I now want to focus on what can I do to serve.
Somebody asked me to ask you, what is the future of the phrase called work-life balance? In the 21st century, going into a new decade, Dr. Chopra, what does that phrase mean to us anymore? How do we attain that ever-elusive thing called work-life balance?
There is no, we make artificial distinctions between my work life and my personal life. They're inseparable. You bring your personal life into your work life, and you bring your work life back into your life at home. So I would say, unless you can nurture yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, your work will be meaningless, and in the end it will be stressful. You might become the CEO of the company, have a big balance, but by the bank balance, but by the time you do that, you'll also be probably having had you'll have a heart attack or high blood pressure, and you'll have your kids will be on drugs, and there'll be all kinds of other problems, impending divorce and so on. So if you want to be productive in your work, take care of yourself first. You can't give to the world what you don't have.
Somebody also pointed out the other day, we are on Bloomberg, we talk stocks here all day.
I talk on Bloomberg about other things in the United States.
That's right, yes, you do. But if healthcare or well-being was, since it's such a huge industry, if that was a stock, would you bet on it going into a new decade?
Yes, I would bet on any technology or any service or any product that improves well-being. I would look for the most innovative, creative technologies right now. Biodegradable clothing, alternative fuels, green economies. And the more you look at this, the more you'll see that there's immense creativity. I was in Ireland and I met with some people who showed me a window pane that senses minor breezes, minor movements in the breeze, and converts it into electricity, or harnessing the ocean waves or gravity to produce energy for a whole city, or even bioenergy. So this is a time of great creativity for people who are looking at the future.
As we come to the end of this interview, I have a last couple of questions for you. a lot of people believed that, at least even 5, 6, 10 years ago, that the idea of Eastern or Oriental, Indian, some would say, spirituality was in some senses adopted by the West, taken out of India and created into a brand. And somehow that never sort of resonated in India. Today there's so much happening even in India. In a sense, yoga has come back to India. You know, there's Ananda Ashram and so on and so forth. Do you sense that too, or is that a mistaken notion? In some senses, do you sense that India has revitalized its own well-being traditions?
It's starting to. India should never forget that it has always influenced the world, always, through historically, through its culture, through its storytelling, through its mythology, through, of course, its cuisine, through its music, its art, and through its science. And this is a time where India needs to recognize that we can be a superpower without resorting to the traditional methods that superpowers do, militarism and so on. Our culture is the best thing we can export to the world.
My last question to you. At the moment, India, we keep talking about how the Indian century is back. You're one of India's greatest exports in some senses. When you look at India in the 21st century in the world, what is your vision of where this country is going, where it could go, and the role that you perhaps could play in that entire story?
I think India could lead the world in many ways. We are going to see many more Nobel Prizes coming from India. But India must first take care of its own people. We need to address radical poverty. We need to get rid of cronyism, influence peddling, corruption, and power mongering. We need to have an authentic experience of our own spirituality, which is practical, not which is in the mountains and in the ashrams, but a spirituality that is effective in bringing creative solutions to a very disrupted ecosystem. If we can do that, we can take over the world.
Deepak Chopra, a delight that you came on Talkback. Thanks very much indeed. Very happy that you came on Talkback, sir.
Thank you. It was a privilege.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.